Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and happy new year to you all. We're going to start 2024 with a bang, talking about What If Season 2. I'm here with our usual NerdTube cohorts. Gaz, how you doing? Happy New Year,
I'm
mate.
happy to hear. I'm doing all right.
Thank you. And cousin Cheeto, who's unfortunately on his phone right now, which is why we have him in this particular scenario. But how you doing? Happy New Year to you, mate.
I'm doing I'm doing good. Looking forward to talking about this for sure.
Wonderful. So we have 9 episodes for this series. We're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the entire season of season 2 of What If. Briefly talking about each episode, giving our opinions, giving a recap, and then for you two, I got a little surprise at the end. Hope you'll enjoy it. So season 2 begins with what if Nebula joined the Nova Corps. The Nova Corps would kind of briefly been seen in the MCU, little dibs and dabs here and there, nothing too much. Mainly Guardians of the Galaxy, we kind of saw them initially. Glenn Close, she was the person in charge of Nova Corps, and it seems that Nebula at one particular point in one particular scenario was left for dead in space, and the Nova Corps saves her, and then she becomes part of them doing investigations and so on. It was interesting, I guess. It's good to see like the sea level characters because truly that's what she is. I mean, she's the supporting of the supporting cast, but it's good to see them, having their moments because they are renowned and they have stepped up to the plate at times during the course of the entire MCU. So Nebula having an episode dedicated to her, I'm totally fine with that. But how did you find this episode, fellas? I'll start with you guys.
It was kind of okay. I kind of did the sort of gritty noir with Lady Callagher going, I'm a city and I'm going to try and find this. And it basically done like Dirt Bogart, which is fine. It was a kind of different tone, so it was a bit kind of unique in that way, but kind of it wasn't really an impressive idea. Like, oh, what happened if Ronan killed Thanos? Who cares? And he tries to take over whatever that was, it Nova Prime or whatever that planet is. I couldn't care less. It's like
Cheeto,
you're really cheated, by the way.
you're muted, by the way.
Yep, I know. I'm just trying to keep myself muted while I'm not talking. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, with this episode, yeah, I think this episode should have been called "What If Nebula Started the Guardians of the Galaxy?" And then she started this particular group of the Guardians of the Galaxy. With how I was fine. It was a little bit of it was a fun romp. But yeah, I was kind of with Gaz on this one. I really just didn't care about this one. Some of the parts of the episode was fun, but it's forgettable and skippable. Truth be told.
Yeah, I think it's good to maybe seeing some of the familiar characters we've seen from the space side of the MCU, like within four, as well as Guardians, like seeing them in other aspects, so to speak. And it was also good to see Howard the Duck, and he's some sort of gangster in this universe as well, which is interesting. Whether they would all team up to go up against the higher powers, I'm not so sure. But it's it's easily digestible. But honestly, this is not really what I want from my MCU to a degree. I have no problem with Nebula being in something as the main character, but it doesn't grip me whatsoever. The Nova Corps hasn't been fleshed out enough for me to give a shit. I mean, hardly been fleshed out whatsoever within the MCU for me to give a shit. So why? I mean, I did like the fact that she wore Yondu's fucking thingy and all of that. Those were pretty cool. But the Nova Corps itself, fuck it. I just think it was a waste of time. Shall we? You want to quickly mark this episode out of 10, fellas? I'll go first. I'll give it a 6, guys.
I'll give it a 6 as well.
Cheeto.
5.
Fair enough. All right, on to the episode 2. What if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes? So this is kind of like an 80s version of the Avengers, and with Peter Quill coming into town as a kid by Ego, who wants him to take over Earth because that's where he sees it from and all of that. I actually once spoke about this, how if we had like an Avengers before the Avengers, so we would have maybe people like a younger Hank Pym, and I was thinking T'Challa's dad as Black Panther, and who knows, maybe we could have had Howard Stark as an Iron Man of sorts. But we kind of got something to what I thought of. Didn't think Bucky was going to be part of this crew going up against young Peter Quill, who was taking over Earth. But Peter Quill was a bit of a misguided child who just needed a bit of love and attention. And obviously, Hank Pym, being a father, was able to do that. Nice little moments between Hank and Hope. Sorry, between Peter and Hope as kids. That was pretty cool. And seeing some of these older sort of superhero characters or older mentors being superheroes at an era which was closer to their prime, I did enjoy all of that as well. I want to talk a bit more about this in a second, but first of all, I'll let you have a quick chin wag on it. Cheeto, what you got to say?
I actually really enjoyed this episode. I did like it. I was actually quite surprised also that the Winter Soldier was in this episode. Um, and I did like the way it played out. I honestly truly enjoyed it. I was excited for this episode, and I enjoyed it even more than I thought I would. So I was very happy with the direction they went with this episode.
Guys?
I agree with Tito. I agree. I love the episode. I love the nostalgia. I love the fact that we're getting the young versions of the older hero, that young sort of like earlier Avengers, and I love the way they resolved this by, talking Peter down rather than, shooting him or whatever, rather than violence. I thought that was very well done.
Yeah, I actually we discussed this episode amongst ourselves, and I've always said that the episode where T'Challa becomes Star Lord, and then because of that, Ego is able just to go swooning in at Peter working at the cafe or wherever he was working, and then lure him in with all that power. I would have preferred the continuation of that than what we got here as Peter as a kid, But nevertheless, this was okay. I'm gonna mark it. I'm also gonna give it. I'll give it a 7. Gaz,
I'll give it a very terrible 8.
Cheeto.
I will also give it an 8. I really enjoyed this episode.
All right. Now, as everyone says, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. It's been drilled into our fucking heads. So, with What If Episode 3, what if Happy Hogan saved Christmas? And my God, the Die Hard isms were amongst this episode in various ways. So, Happy Hogan is the focus, which is also, once again, having a C-level character being the focus of an episode, which I didn't mind. And there's a Christmas party going on at Avengers Tower. And it looks like Justin Hammer, who's smartened himself up a little bit on the ways of Tony Stark, has infiltrated this place with a couple of hoodlums and tried to take over. And he wants the Hulk serum, so to speak, the Hulk formula to Hulk himself up. But unfortunately, that ends up with Happy Hogan, who turns into this purple monstrosity, but still saves the day with the help of the Avengers by the end. What did you think of this episode, guys?
I hated it. It was basically Die Hard, but with Avengers. I mean, and like it was. Do you know what I did? Was when selling a dead horse. This wasn't selling dead horse. This was selling the glue the dead horse was made out of. Like, because like they turned Happy Hogan into purple Hulk guy. That was embarrassing. And they basically just did the Die Hard just with Justin Hammer as Hans Gruber. I'm surprised they didn't go, give me my detonators. That might as well just make it as blatant as possible. You know what I mean? It was ridiculous. I hated it.
Okay, before I go on to you, Cheetah, I just want to add that my part that this episode wasn't trying to hide the fact that it was a Die Hard homage, so to speak. It very much wanted you to know that, and so I respect it for that. Cheetah's kind of disconnected. Let me see if I can bring him back. Yeah, so I had no problem with that. At the same time, it was okay. Once again, it wasn't fantastic, and yeah, that's all I can say about that. Cheetah? Oh, no. Are we back? Cheetah? Are we trying here? All right, what we'll do? He's on mute. You're on mute now.
moves for sort
Well,
of it's
what we'll do, we'll get back to Cheeto, and we'll ask him about that episode once he's able to sort out his technical issues. But let's mark the episode. What are you going to give it, Gaz?
out of 10, 2.
I'm going to give it a 7. I didn't mind it too much. No, it wasn't great. No, actually, no. I'll take that back. I'm gonna give it a 6. It was okay. All right.
I'm gonna give it a 2. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
You
we
can
can,
hear you now.
we can now.
So I guess you didn't like the episodes, Cheeto.
oh, I
Was
hated
that
this episode so much. This is the low point of the entire season for me, and yeah,
okay? All right. Let's move on very quickly then. What if the Iron Man crashed into the Grandmaster? This episode should have been in season 1, and it ended up being here in season 2. So at the end, near the end of Avengers Assemble, when Captain America tells Thor to seal up the hole between the two worlds, the sort of vortex, so to speak, in the sky. Tony Stark falls through it, but he's able to go through it in Avengers Assemble. And this what happen if he doesn't? But this time around, he doesn't just stay floating in space. He ends up on, is it Scar, the name of the planet?
Sakaar,
Yes.
Yeah,
Sakaar.
where the junkyard planet, which is ruled by the Grandmaster.
Yeah, the Grandmaster.
Yeah.
Jeff, the
Jeff
Goldblum Master.
Yeah, exactly. And so we see some familiar faces once again, people we've seen from 4 and stuff like that. We've seen these guys, Valkyries in this episode, as well as Gamora. And Gamora is after Stark. She has a mission, so to speak. Valkyrie just happens to be around. And Tony Stark is basically, he tries to hustle and bargain his way into going back to Earth by involving himself in a race, which is very a pod racing type sort of scenario we get like on Tatooine, but this time on this particular planet against the Grandmaster. And if he wins, he can go back home. Lots of shenanigans ensue during the course of this. Eventually, he does win, as well as him trying to talk down Gamora from trying to capture him. Make us see the bigger picture. We get obviously Tony Stark's full range of knowledge when it comes to creating things like a new Iron Man suit, as well as a racing car. All of that. A very fast-paced episode, excuse the pun. What did you think, Cheeto?
This episode was all right, very middle of the road for me, but I really feel like this episode just really didn't need to be in this season. Like, it should have been either a bonus feature on the Blu-ray for What If season 1 when it came out, because technically this was supposed to be in season 1. And so I don't know why it didn't come out in season 1. I don't know why why they went from 10 episodes down to 9. And I just really feel like it was kind of after the point for this episode. And I know they said in the beginning with the Watcher, oh, but this is someone but you don't know how she got here. It's like, no, just just consider it a wash. Like, put it out as a special feature and be done with it. This was kind of for me, it was kind of a waste of an episode. I don't know why they delayed this episode, but who knows?
Guys?
I agree with Tito. It just didn't feel in the rest of the themes that they were doing with this episode, with this season. Try to like displace people and stuff like that, and like make them discombobulated. So it kind of didn't fit in with the rest of the themes they had with it. So I agree with Tito.
Fair enough. I mean, once again, it was nice seeing like different people within the MCU bouncing off each other, which is always a good thing with What If. Because I don't think Gamora, Valkyrie, and Tony Stark have ever bounced off each other within the MCU. So it was good to see it happen on this particular occasion. I didn't mind this episode. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Gaz?
I'll give it a 6 just for Jeff Goldblum.
Cheeto?
I'll give it a 6. As I said, it wasn't a terrible episode, but it was kind of beyond it's almost like the Black Widow movie. It was kind of beyond the point at this, with this season. So, but it wasn't a bad episode.
All right. So episode 5 is the one continuation we have from season 1. what if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper? So this is pretty much Captain Carter's Winter Soldier moment, with Steve Rogers being that Winter Soldier, but he's still in his Hydra Stomper, kind of bonded to his suit, so to speak, having done over the years several missions for an undercover organization. What is the name of Black Widow's former operative she was with?
The Red Room.
Red Room, yeah. It seems that they're the ones in control of the Hydra Stomper. And we see Carter and Black Widow teaming up, joining forces. We also see a brief moment of what the Avengers Assemble moment would have looked like under Captain Carter, and we saw the Wasp there as well, which was pretty interesting. Nevertheless, getting back on track on this episode, we also see Black Widow's mom being the leader, the person in charge of Steve Rogers' mind, so to speak. It was one of those bittersweet moments regarding what Steve had become. We also saw a very old Bucky Barnes who would have probably been knocking on 100 by the time he was a fucking senator in office or whatever he was doing, playing the role he was, being asked to run around, which I thought was a bit ridiculous, having a man that old, in the corridors of power. But then again, we are talking America, so having old people in the corridors of power is really not that, not that surreal. Nevertheless, what do you think of this episode? I'll start with you, Cheeto.
And yeah, just for reference, like Bucky would have been around 15 years older, or maybe 10 years older than Joe Biden is currently. So it kind of gives you a little perspective on how old Bucky was, and he has no super soldier serum. So you're right; it does make no sense that he is where he's at. I mean, if anything, he should have been in like a motorized chair or something, like or so. I don't know. I mean, I really feel like in this episode. What? Go ahead,
sorry, because I remember in Falcon Winter Soldier when he's dating that girl, he mentioned that he's like 104, 105, and if this is about maybe 8 years before that, then he's easily
98,
97, 90, yeah, like what the hell, man, like it's ridiculous. It's like that things like that they stick in my mind, and when the other stuff is going to come into play regarding that, sticking in my mind things like how is this possible? But yeah,
no, you know me, I'm right there with you on that stuff.
Yeah.
But actually, I love this episode. I mean, besides that is kind of my only hang up on this episode. But beyond that, I love this episode. This episode, honestly, is my favorite out of all the episodes. And I really, really wish this show now was not called What If. I really wish this show would have been called like Watcher's Guide to Hitchhiking the Multiverse with Peggy Carter or something. Like I would not mind like the multiverse jumping with Peggy Carter and the Watcher and all that. Like I wouldn't mind that, because in episodes coming up we basically get that. But this episode right here, I really, really like this episode. I'm always on board with Captain Carter, and I think the chemistry between Carter and Black Widow, whoever that voice actress is, because it's not Scarlett Johansson. I think it's the voice actress who plays Black Widow on the cartoon show, the cartoon Avengers. I really, really enjoy those just that chemistry, the story, the way it played out, the way they kind of merged the Winter Soldier and the Black Widow movie together. So good.
Yep. Guys,
I agree, Tito. I thought it was a fantastic episode. It's not my favorite, but it is one of them. It was superbly done. I love the way that they subverted the tropes from the original one. I love the fact that it's a Hydra Stomper and it was Steve Rogers in front of it. But it was almost like the same as like RoboCop, where his mind's now been molded to machine, and love it where he like sacrifices himself, and then Black Widow fires that line, and it catches her mum off her, and she goes flying into space.
Yeah, she killed her mum.
That was just amazing. That was just amazing. Just a really, really good episode, in my opinion.
We also got Carter talking to the Watcher in this, and this is another thing that bugs me. Like, if Carter's talking to the Watcher and the Watcher is narrating, who the fuck is the shush? Who the fuck is the Watcher? I know he's narrating to us, but in a way, like, what the fuck's going on? Like, when she's listening to this guy narrating, she must be thinking to herself, who the fuck is this guy narrating to? You know what I mean? Like, like, does he know that he's living in a in a fictional world, the Watcher. When he's narrating to us, a bunch of people watching on the television, like, what the fuck is going on? Like with all of this shit, her knowing him and being able to hear him and all of this shit. It's just, don't you find any of that perplexing a little bit, Cheeto?
I mean, it's fourth wall breaking, but I mean, it's not anything too crazy. Like, I mean, it's very Deadpoolish, but I don't know. I mean, I thought it was okay.
Guys,
I thought it was not. I'd do it a 9.
okay, you're marking it. You get no regarding the fourth wall breaking and Carter talking to
Yeah, I
to
hate that. I hate
to
that
the
bit, because
Watcher
the
and
thing is,
yeah.
that's one thing about this particular series I hated was her. It's like, well, why does no one else hear it? It's like what kind of special power does Penny Carter have to speak to him? Like, is she psychic? Does she have like some sort of like it would make sense if when she gets the the Infinity Stone, she did it, because then we've seen other people do that. But when it's
No, but if I was Peggy Carter, I'll be saying to him, who the fuck are you narrating to, mate? Who are you talking to? I'll be so curious. Like who from her perspective. In the like, and she'll realize that she's a fictional fucking character. But anyway, let's mark it. I don't want to get too lost down this rabbit hole. I'm gonna give this episode a 7, guys.
9.
Cheeto.
I will also give it a 9. I also wanted to say, but the whole narration and Carter hearing him thing is why I want it to be called like Watcher's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Multiverse. Like that. I feel like they're a good pair, but I agree with you guys that it is kind of stupid at this point that it being What If. Like, What If needs to be self-contained Elseworld stories. It doesn't need to be this, crossover and all this other stuff. Like that's not what If is. And that's what kind of infuriates me about this season is that there are some great episodes in here. They shouldn't be that's not what this show should be called.
I agree. I agree to a degree, definitely. So what if Kahori reshaped the world is episode 6. This is an episode based around Native American people during the period of the Spanish conquistadors, if I can say that word correctly. Yes, I apologize. So as we all know, like as this land of America was being found by Europeans, they were starting to take over the land and take over the people. Kahori herself ends up finding something that the Spaniards actually thought was the fountain of youth, but actually it is a vortex into an alternative world which is similar to their own, but different enough. Grants them powers and they can live forever. This has all been created by the Tesseract, by the way, which was I believe destroyed or cut in half. It was really hard to tell. Something happened to the Tesseract that caused all of this to happen in the first place. And we get a very interesting moment where I very much appreciated the role reversal to such a degree that the Native Americans ended up leaving their lands and started heading towards Europe. So, to stop the Spaniards and everybody else from conquering their own homeworlds. And I have to say that made me put a big smile on my face. And for an episode that I thought was kind of average, that ending, elevated it for me big time. What did you think, Gaz?
I don't think it's America. I think it's like either Central America or South America. It's conquistadors. It's like Mexico or Brazil or Argentina or something like that. But anyway, I thought it was an amazing episode. Mainly because there was not. I don't think there was much English spoken in it. It was all in either Spanish or whatever language that I think it was either Incas or Mayans spoke. So, which I think is
Mohawk. It's from the Mohawk tribe.
Is it? I thought it was Central. I thought it was like more Central America because it was conquistadors. Or did the conquistadors go over?
No, it was the Mohawk tribe. So it was. I think it was the United States, like southern United States area.
Yeah, but it was just really good. It was just like I got to learn about this tribe. I got to learn about their pride. That she was like, she was there going, you've abandoned your identity. You need to embrace it and stuff like that. I loved all that, and I loved the fact that it wasn't in English, and I loved the fact that it was about a demographic that usually doesn't see themselves depicted this way, as strong, as powerful warriors on cinema. And I love that. I love, because I thought this was going to be the most cynical, woke episode where it was just going to be about the fact that she's a Native American, but it wasn't. It was actually about the tribe itself, about the power to overcome and stuff like that. I really loved this episode because of that.
Cheeto?
I really like this episode. I thought this episode was gorgeous. Like, this episode really felt like the animation was a step above the other ones.
Agreed.
Especially in the Sky World. But other than that, I mean, I thought the story was okay. I did also have a smile on my face when all the conquistadors got their comeuppance from the I don't know, what were they called? What were the superpowered Native Americans called? Did they call
the Mohawk? You said the Mohawks, didn't you? Let me have a quick look. I'm reading here.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but what did the people? Yeah, but what did the superpowered Native Americans call themselves? What, the Sky People? I don't.
Yeah, so
but and I liked all of that. And as I said, this is kind of a meh episode. As I said, visually it's great, but I think honestly, what comes from this episode is much better than the episode itself. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Okay, so at the end, obviously, Doctor Strange Supreme. God, it sounds like a fucking pizza, that does. Hey, quiet you. Comes in recruiting her for something, but we'll find out. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Overall, I give this episode an 8. Gaz?
I give it a 8 as well.
Cheeto?
I give it a 7.
Fair enough. All right, now this for me is one of the most misleading titles. So this is episode 7. What if Hela found the 10 rings? Now, it should have been what if Hela found Zhu Wenyu, which was the owner of the 10 rings, because that would have been a lot better. Because I was expecting at some point while I was watching this episode, which kind of basically repeated the first 4 movies sort of footsteps, where Hela was banished, but this time around she had to find was it not respect, it was
being worthy, or having grace.
No, like she had to find
compassion.
I forgot, compassion, something along those lines, in order to wear that helmet again.
I think it was grace, is what Odin said, but I might be wrong on that.
There was another term which slips my mind, but basically not willing to kill somebody, like I forgot the fucking word. The words right now just is off my head. Mercy, I think mercy. I think you're on that. Thank you, boss man. So all of that, basically, she basically follows the similar footsteps to 4 from the first movie, and she gets banished. She ends up in the Far East somewhere. She meets Zhu Wenwu, who is the owner of the 10 rings. She's still able to kick ass a little bit, but she's now mortal, still very arrogant, all of that. She goes to that alternative universe to basically, when she's escaping Wenwu, the Wenwu obviously wants to bride her up and everything. And she learns maybe compassion and stuff like that in that particular world. It softens her up a bit before Odin comes down to wonder what the fuck's going on, because he's out of sight to Heimdall. So yeah, all of this is happening. Big fights happens during the course of this. Hela does find mercy at the end, and it turns her into a good guy. He ends up being a good person, stopping people like Thanos alongside Wenwu. But I wanted her to have the 10 fucking rings, because it said, what if Hela found the 10 rings? And the idea of Hela finding the 10 rings was a glorious story, in my opinion, because she's so fucking powerful. But you give her a boost with the 10 rings, oh my God, she'd probably be unstoppable. Cheeto, what did you think of this episode? And are you as upset as I am that she never got the fucking 10 rings?
Actually, I didn't even really think about it until you said that. This episode was okay. I just think this episode should have started when she got to the magic. Like, she shouldn't have gone to Wenwu's, in the beginning. Like, I feel like she should have started in the mystical in between, area. I don't. She should have started there, trained there, then encountered Minwoo, and then they have their confrontation, and then Odin shows up to try to take the 10 rings, and that's when those two fight. I think they just this episode was out of order. I think she should have started in the cross dimension or whatever it is, the barrier between the dead. And I think they kind of missed a trick with that whole the whole dead thing. I really feel like they could have done more with the barrier of the dead that's literally right there um outside of their village, with Hela. So I don't know. This episode was it was the fight between Odin and Hela was really, and Winwoo was really good. I really enjoyed the end of this episode, but the beginning and middle was just kind of it's kind of cringe.
How about the face turn from Hela?
It seemed a bit quick, but I understand it because it's only a 30-minute episode. So I really feel like, yeah, I unfortunately, I think it was just a product of timing, not of bad writing.
Fair enough. I don't know what's happened with the boss man, but here he is. He is back. Gaz, you back, mate?
On the internet. Yeah, I'm back.
So, what's your opinion on this episode?
I agree with you. I thought I was going to get that when Ultron found the Infinity
Stones.
From last season. I thought it was like that, and then it was this Kumbaya, she's going to turn good. But I was like, that's a little bit less leading. I mean, I suppose they wanted to surprise us, but there's ways to do that without kind of misleading us. Because you could have said she finds whatever that lady is, or she finds the kingdom where it is, and then people might think, oh, she's going to go and get the 5 rings. And then when she finds peace, people are like, oh, that's a different sort of like story they've gone for. So I'm with you in that sense, but I did like the fact she did find peace and she was much more good. But I felt a bit misled by it, to be honest with you.
Well,
I'm not a big. Sorry, go on, Cheeto.
Yeah, maybe like the episode title being like, "What if Hela found freedom?" or something like that. I agree with you. It is a very misleading title.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Hela having a face turn. I actually thought the episode was pretty good, but because I was misled, and the whole time I'm thinking, when's she going to get those 10 fucking rings? And I kind of realized she didn't. It kind of left a dampener in my mouth. I mean, I'm very torn because I do think for what this episode is good. I just wasn't expecting it to be the way it was, which pisses me off because I was expecting something else. Simply by the title of this episode called Hela Found the 10 Rings. And maybe how it explains is that she finds the 10 rings by the fact that somebody else owns it, but it's extremely misleading, and that in my opinion is frustrating. A Hela-centric episode in its own right, meeting Wenwu would be good enough. I mean, however you want to retitle it, but don't title it like this. It's fucking stupid. But I'm going to be fair and rate the episode for what it is, regardless of it being misleading. And I thought the episode itself was still good. I'll give it a 7. Gaz?
I'll give it a 7 as well.
Cheeto?
I'll give it a 7.
All right. So this is the episode that got me asking some questions now. What if the Avengers assembled in 1602? Now, I don't even know where to start, but I think the concept was good. I think the execution was shit. There's a lot of things in this episode that really bugged the fuck out of me. For a start, let me just some notices of the episode. At the end of Captain Carter's episode, in episode 5, she gets sucked into a vortex back into 1602 by a 1602 version of the Scarlet Witch, and they have to fight this force, this entity that is zapping people into space and taking them away. We see all our familiar faces here. We have Thor. We have another version of Happy Hogan. We have Tony Stark, who's a bit of a weird inventor. We have Bruce Banner, we have Steve Rogers, we have Bucky Barnes being more Winter Soldier than Bucky Barnes, which was a bit weird in my opinion. Because Bucky Barnes was always a happy-go-lucky character before he became the Winter Soldier. So why is he not that still? It's not like he's been taken over by a different force. Regardless, we also have Scott Lang, and this is one of my first questions I had to ask: is how the fuck is Scott Lang having Ant-Man powers in the 1602? Like nothing was that really bugged me. Bruce Banner, he is of that era as well. He's able to be Hulk, and Happy Hogan's also able to be Hulk as well. I know they're obviously, paralleling it with his own personal episode, but still, how's it happening now? I don't understand. Thor as well is in this. He's a bit of a fucking idiot. We see his sister get taken away. She's supposed to be super powerful, but not powerful enough, I guess. This is a fucking a really bizarre episode as well. Captain Carter's been taken back to this time to fix things. She sees Steve Rogers there, and Steve Rogers is the man. Also, once again, out of time again. We all thought it would have been Bruce Banner, but no, it was Steve Rogers all along. So the sort of like mismatched romance continues. It's fucking really stupid, this episode, in my opinion. But it can be a bit of fun, but it just had me asking so many questions that it irked me and bugged me. Like, how has Scott Lang got these fucking powers? But yeah, what do you guys think? I'll start with you, Cheetah.
I mean, I think the thing that clears up a lot of it is what Captain Carter said to the Watcher in the beginning of the episode, is that time compression was going on. Is that the early 20th century, and 1602 was merging together. So that's why there was all of this. So it was a time compression where compression. So that's why he had Pym particles, because it was a universe where something like when Captain America hit the time stone, it jacked everything up. Because think about it, all the people, like a lot of the people that were there were at the Battle of Wakanda. The only one that wasn't, which you're right, doesn't make sense, is Ant-Man. But maybe because he had Pym particles, and maybe I don't know. So, but so that's kind of why. That's what I took away from this episode, is that it was time compression, which time compression does get weird when you theoretically think about it. But you're right.
In a different universe, Ant-Man could have been at the Battle of Wakanda, So
and you're right, but they should have showed that then at the end. All they showed was Captain America raised the time stone, and so what? It makes no sense then for only Captain America to go back in time. They should have shown that it was time compression, like starting to merge all the worlds back. And and honestly, what should have happened is when those rifts opened up, it should have pulled somebody through and then shot somebody else out, probably, or something should have changed every time those rifts open. You're right. It was really weird. And I don't think it was explained very well, but this is also the first episode. What?
No, go on. No, please continue.
This is the episode where I'm like, okay, this really should not be called What If anymore. It should be called the multiversal hitchhiking, show.
Yeah, I mean, with Steve coming from the future, it did answer the fact that why is he so fucking big if he hasn't taken super soldier serum? Well, that shouldn't be. Yeah. That's not his natural physique. But luckily, that was explained because it wasn't Steve of that era. He was from the future. Hence, he would have taken the super soldier serum. Other than that, and there was a Peggy Carter of that period. But then again, there should be a Steve Rogers of that period, as well. Like there should be two Steve Rogers: the Steve Rogers that went back in time, and the Steve Rogers of that period. If you think about it, but but
if he was the catalyzing, if he was the catalyst event that started the time compression, then maybe it started with him. So as I said, you're right. It is convoluted, and unless you explain it very thoroughly, it's not gonna work really well. And I mean, I do believe it was poorly executed. Like it was a fun episode, but poorly executed. I agree with you on that.
I wanted to enjoy the episode for what it's worth, this period of of Avengers in this era. I wanted to enjoy it for what it's worth, but I just couldn't help but ask questions the whole time I'm watching this shit, and that ruined my enjoyment of the fucking episode. Gaz, what have you got to say?
I really did not like this episode at all because even though I like things where it happens in different time periods and stuff like that, the technology should reflect that time period. It should not be this time dilation bullshit. So instead of like using metal or something like that, they should use like wood or be using like because this is like if this is like steampunk age, it should be
Yeah,
like
steampunky.
like,
You saw that with
like,
Tony's box.
yeah, exactly. So if he's going to make Iron Man suit, make it steampunky. I agree with you about the whole. There's no gamma radiation. Where does the Hulk come from? There's no ability to make the pin particle. Where does that come from? There should be a equivalent to what it is. Like I don't know, some sort of machine that micronizes you using
Yeah, they had the yellow
gravity.
jackets as well. Like they were fucking small too. Like all of these. How is this happening? I'm thinking,
Yeah, and that's the thing. The solutions to this maybe like instead of turning green, the Hulk just gets really, really muscly or something like that. Like he has like he gets like super steroids or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking like this could have been different, and they could have just done something different to fit into the sort of like steampunk era stuff. And it just felt like, oh no, we're just going to do the same things again. We're just going to see it in the future. It's like, why bother then?
Well,
Yeah,
and that's what I.
So go on.
Well, and that's why I say I go back to this shouldn't be called What If, because I agree with you. I think they should have just done a version of the Avengers in 1602 instead of it being a quote unquote time dilation paradox where, things are emerging in 1602 in the early 20th century. Like you're right, it's confusing, it doesn't track, and they're kind of just using that oh, timey-wimey wonky winky thing to kind of explain away all these questions that we have. Oh, it's a fun episode. And it's like, no, why don't you just make an episode where in 1602 there's versions of the Avengers, but yeah, you're right. Like make it in that time period, not like the timey-wimey stuff, like the time dilation.
And Gary, I also agree. We mentioned steampunk. I don't think this episode was steampunk enough. If anything, I would have made this whole episode steampunk centric, and then it would have answered the pin particles and fucking Hulk being the way he is and all this shit by using steampunk fucking science, to do it. But no, like I only started realizing it became steampunkish the moment Tony got his fucking box out. Then it became steampunkish. Other than that, it was all fucking medieval. And so I just wish it was more. I would have loved the steampunk Avengers. I think they fucking missed the trick here by not doing that.
I agree with you.
So, yeah, big time. Do you agree as well, Cheetah?
Yep, I agree.
Okay, let's mark it. I'm going to give this episode a very generous 5 out of 10. Cheetah.
I'm gonna give it a 6. I enjoyed a lot of the interactions and stuff in this episode, but I also understand all of the gripes you guys have. As I said, I enjoyed this episode for more of like if it was what it should this series should be called is the Peggy Carter's jaunt across the multiverse.
Guys?
I'll give it a 4.
Actually, I'm going to revise my score. I'm going to give it a 4. 5 is just too good. It is too down the middle, and I was upset by the episode, and like I said, they missed a trick, so it's 4 out of 10. Actually, all right. At the end of this episode, Supreme once again comes into the play, and he recruits Peggy Carter, and we get this episode now. It's episode 9. What if Strange Supreme intervened? So I'm going to read the synopsis of this, but Strange Supreme takes Captain Carter to his sanctum Infinitium, where he reveals that he's been capturing universal killers to atone for his sins, and asks for her help in capturing escaped variants who fled to a universe where Hydra used the Tesseract to destroy the world. Carter agrees, and as Strange attempts to kill Kahori, but he obviously recruited in episode 6. Carter frees his captives, allowing her and Kahori to escape. Amidst the chaos, the pair, Black Panther, Killmonger, who Kahori separates the armor from allowing Carter to use it because he's got all the fucking Infinity Stones. That was done too conveniently, by the way. While Carter and Kahori battle Strange at the Forge, the variants lend their weapons, yada yada. We all know that afterwards. But basically, it's a 2-person fight against Strange Supreme. It's Kahori, the Native American girl, and Captain Carter going up against Strange Supreme, who basically wants to destroy everything else around him, all these other universes, to revitalize his own, so you can have his girlfriend back, whose name escapes me. Kathleen, is it Catherine Palmer or something Palmer?
It's
Christine.
Captain,
It's Christine. It's Christine Palmer.
Christine Palmer.
Yeah, Christine Palmer. He wants her back, and he's willing to sacrifice everything else around him. It was a bit of a weird finale, in my opinion. I like the fact that it didn't go formulaic to a degree by having another Avengers assemble, so to speak, and it went like a different route. But it was a bit weird as a finale, and I guess Strange Supreme is a villain, and so he had to be dealt with, and this is how they dealt with him. It's very hard for me to explain this episode, but I will give you my feelings and my mark a bit later. I'll start with you guys. What do you think?
This episode was great in some ways and annoying in others. Like the great stuff was just the amount of oh my god shit, like when he pulls them into the machine and like all of them are falling down into that flaming thing to bring back his universe.
Yeah,
I loved that. And I loved what he turns into. That sort of like it looks like the flaming what's it called? The Balrog. He looks like the bloody Balrog from fucking Lord of the Rings, which made me mark out a bit. I love that. It's just like everything else. I'm like, what's going on? I'm struggling to keep up with what's going on here, and just like I like the people going, oh, good, Chrissy's dead, you can't bring her back and stuff like that. He says, oh, I can bring her what I want. It's just like, well, if you can do that, why don't you just do it then? It's just ridiculous. It's just like, yeah, I agree with you. It's just bonkers in a good way, though.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. At the beginning of this episode, when we saw Kahori running around with the blue light, I genuinely thought we were seeing Pietro Quicksilver. I was thinking, great. I thought, wow, we haven't seen him in his one and done in Age of Ultron. But unfortunately, it was. Don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against Kahori, but it was a bit of a letdown that it wasn't Pietro. So that was a shame, really. Cheeto, what you got to add?
I actually really agree with Boss Man here. There were parts of this episode that were really good. The jailbreak was fun to watch. I agree with you that Kahori just flicking, Infinity Killmonger out of the armor, like and into a portal was just it what not discounted. What's the word I'm looking for? It really just like discredited that season 1 villain. You know what I mean? The other thing
the same with Thanos, didn't they? They done the same with Thanos when Ultron only had 1 stone to Thanos' 5 and just cut him in half. Yeah, remember?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I also, I mean, and it kind of goes against the physics of the universe because, I thought they had always said that, or maybe this is just in the comic books, but I thought they had always said that the Infinity Stones only work in the universe that they were created. Because even in season 1, the Infinity Grinder, or whatever that thing was that they used to try to grind down the. They said, oh, the Infinity Grinder only works against Infinity Stones and this, and I think in Loki they also said that Infinity Stones only work within their own universe. So wherever this Infinitorum was, you have multiple set of Infinity Stones working, and that doesn't make sense to me. So
they're forgetting their own lore.
And I mean, that's fine. Like that's whatever.
Well,
but
regarding the grinder might only be able to work on an Infinity Stones of its own universe, if you know what I mean. Whilst the Infinity Stones themselves are so powerful, they could work in any universe. That's the
Well,
only thing I can take away from that.
I know for a fact in the comic books that the Infinity Stones only work in their home universe. I just don't know if that rule applies to the MCU or not. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
well, we saw in Loki they'll use the fucking paperweights for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
So
well, and that's what I thought was kind of confirming it is, the fact that they were out of time and in between the universes. That's why those Infinity Stones just didn't work.
yeah, and the only thing I liked about this episode was at one point when every sort of unique, magical, powerful weapon was given to Captain Carter at one point to take on Strange. So she got the ring, she got the helmet, she got Thor's fucking hammer. God knows what else she was given, but she already had all the Infinity Stones as well. I mean, we're talking about max level here, Captain
I just don't
Carter.
understand why Carter couldn't have just snapped Strange away. Like, you know what I mean? She did it to Thanos, and he had
I don't.
Infinity Stones of his own.
Did she know about the snap though? Like, snap? Is she aware of these things?
No, she might
Like,
not be. I mean, you're right, because she was technically pulled from Winter Soldier. That was before Thanos. So maybe. I mean, maybe she just didn't know about it. But
but
he
then
probably saw Killmonger do it to Thanos, but maybe they just didn't understand what was happening.
if she has the Soul Stone in the way, that's like a stone of knowledge. I always look at the Soul Stone as that, and she would have had maybe the knowledge inserted into her to know to snap. That's the only thing I
She
got.
really did not use a lot of the stones. Like she used the Power Stone, which is purple, and she used the Reality Stone once or
Yeah,
twice. But like
to
none of those
to
other
replenish her
stones,
shield.
the Time
Yeah,
Stone, I think lit up once when she was trying to get everybody to stop falling. But like she really did not use those stones to their max potential.
and
I don't feel
we,
like.
and we had two Earth Stones because this Strange Supreme still kept his Earth Stone. So no, sorry, Time Stone. I mean,
Time Stone, yeah.
yeah. So we had the one in Captain Carter's armor, and obviously the one Strange had as well. So, but yeah, regardless, it was a massive hodgepodge of
Mashing your action
bizarreness.
figures together.
Yeah, in hindsight, it might have sounded like a really good idea. I'm not so sure about it. It was good to see a lot of Captain Carter. I didn't mind. Like she was very prominent in this season.
Mm-hmm.
But she was in like she took up 3 episodes. Pretty
Yeah,
much. And
I
I have no problem with that. No
yeah,
problem
as
with
I
that
said,
at all.
I think that this shouldn't be called What If. I've said it before. It's like I don't care if this show is Captain Carter centric. I like Captain Carter, but just calling this series What If at this point is not even, even if they even if they made this a spin-off series, it's or centered around Captain Carter. I don't mind, but they need, it's just not What If at all.
Yeah, like I mean, if they're going to do a what if, it should be like stuff like the 1602 stuff should be what if it started like back then and they used steampunk technology for it, and they had to figure a way, and the creators had to figure out a way to get the Hulk. Because maybe that could be the centric episode that instead of being a hero, the Hulk is actually the problem, and that they've got to try and calm something like that down before he destroys
Yeah, but
what would become the
they've done that before with the Hulk of him being a bit of a rage monster and
yeah, but
out of control.
they're not doing well.
But anyway, let's mark this episode before we get to the season as a general. I'm going to give this episode a 5 out of 10. Cheeto,
I'm in agreement. 5.
I'm
guys.
going to give it a 7 just because I thought the designs were great and I love the way it's fitted, but I agree with a lot of what you two said.
Regarding Kahori, like you're gonna have to live action her because honestly, you made her a little bit significant in this season, and we haven't
She's
even seen
completely OP. Like, don't get me like I get it, like, that she's allowed to be OP, but it's like she's like Scarlet Witch levels of OP at this point, like so.
She's up there with Miss Captain Marvel in power level.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and I don't mind it. I'm okay with them having her OP, but yeah, you're right. They really need to bring her into the live action realm, and kind of, I don't know. I mean, maybe have her facing off against Kang or something. I don't know, but and I'm all for it. This is the kind of like the kind of stuff that I like when they make a new character that's good from like from a different nationality. Like they want to make a Native American superhero, so make one. Don't just recast somebody who's been, like whatever race before, and actually make a good new character that represents that nationality well.
Yeah,
I agree. I think Echo might be Native American. Is that right?
this is Hispanic,
Yeah,
Hispanic,
I think
okay.
she's Hispanic, which I mean, yeah,
which is another thing. But yeah, I do agree with you though. She's just like you could make it Lily Gladstone. She's got an Oscar-winning performance in it, or any other Native American actress. Bring them in and make them Kahori. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, exactly. Like the girl from Yellowstone, she would make a great Kahori because she's Native American herself and she's fucking hot as hell. Anyway, let's mark this episode. Oh, so we already marked the episode. Let's mark the season. Now, personally, I didn't think What If season 2 was as good as What If season 1. There's a lot of people who have issues, the red pill motherfuckers, who obviously see a lot of female dominance in this particular series, so they're losing their minds over that. These fucking incels, because it's not just about Captain Carter and Kahori, but obviously, Hela had a prominent episode too as well. So it's just too much for them to fucking handle, as well as Nebula, of course, too. Personally, I think some of these what if scenarios are not good. Like I would like to see a what if scenario of what if Obadiah Stane beat Tony Stark at the beginning of Iron Man 1 and he became the victor. God knows what the universe would have been after that. Things like that. But some of these other things are a bit too like what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like it's just a bit weird. You know, so yeah, some of these scenarios are not good enough, or people give a fuck about. Use some of the more prominent things within the MCU and spin it on its head and make it go the opposite direction. That's what they should do with What If season 3. I'm going to give season 2, unfortunately, a very low mark. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Cheeto.
no, I think 6 out of 10 is very fair. I mean, honestly, I mean, and that's not think that's above average still. You know what I mean? So, but I agree, 6 out of 10. I really feel that this season was a step back, not because there were female-led episodes, and it's just you're right, and I keep saying it from the beginning. This will be the last time I say it, but this should not be called What If. This should be called something different. It is not What If.
Yeah, it's not about the women for me. I don't give a fuck about that. Every episode could have fucking women in it, ethnic minorities. I don't give a shit. I just thought the scenarios that they picked, the what if scenarios, were not enticing enough. Not enough good ones. Gaz, what are you giving this?
I agree with you 2-6. And
Sorry.
actually, I've just come up in my head an interesting what if scenario. What if the Purple Man got to Steve Rogers or Captain America or something like that? You got to a really heroic character and turned them evil with what you're saying to them.
Actually,
Yeah, go on.
There is a What If scenario in Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes season 2, where the Purple Man does get a hold of Tony Stark. That's a good episode to watch. You should watch it.
Yeah, exactly. And do something like that in live action or do it here.
We're talking Purple Man, David Tennant's character from Jessica Jones.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, until the person becomes established within the MCU, I don't see how like these things will be too prominent, because you want to see an established Purple Man in the MCU first. I think.
Well, I mean, until they canonize the Netflix events, which they've kind of canonized the Daredevil things so far, but until they canonize the Netflix stuff like Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, they're not. I mean, they won't commit to it like that until it's officially canonized.
Yeah, like for instance, like when we saw like Gwen Stacy version of Spider Girl, and in her universe, Matt Murdock became Kingpin. I would love to see a what if of Matt Murdock being Kingpin. That's awesome.
And Peter Parker became the Lizard. That's genius.
Yeah, exactly. Or Peter Parker, or Tony Stark becoming Sorcerer Supreme. I would love to see something like that. Stuff. Things like that really needs to be done. Anyway, before we end this episode, I have a surprise for you two.
Okay, what is it?
It is this. It is What If season 3.
Oh, joy to the world.
A quick little trailer sort of tidbit for you. Here we go.
I mean, I've already seen this, but
these fries are pretty good. They must be made from Russian potatoes. Ah, Russia's the best.
you know, this was supposed to be an episode this season that got bumped to next season,
Uh-huh.
I'll handle this one.
and that's Lawrence Fishburne. So I don't know if that's
Yeah,
supposed to be the Goliath character.
Forrester, yeah.
Yeah, Forrest. Yeah, Forrester. Forrest. One of the two.
How can I help you, officer?
Just a routine check-in. Say, where you fellas headed?
So it's set in the 80s,
yes,
or late 80s.
To visit our sister. It's her birthday.
You
That's
guys
Red
are
Guardian,
brothers.
isn't it?
What'd you get your sister for her birthday? Because I cannot for the life of me figure out what to get my wife for Christmas.
Television.
You got her a sweater and a television? Wow, that's very generous. Nice story. But where are you really headed? Step out of the vehicle and keep.
I don't even know like what this what if would be about. Like,
Really? Again with the
Yeah.
gun?
what if Red Guardian and Bucky went on a road trip?
Target spotted. In pursuit.
Well,
Exercise
at some
caution,
point,
but get
the Soviets, they get hold of Bucky after the Nazis
Let's go
finish
round up some
doing what they
super
do to him, don't
soldiers.
they? So,
Stop with the bullets! You should dance with your enemies. It is like a great
And this is
ballet
very-
of violence.
this is a younger Red Guardian.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. Where did that come from?
Without the family and all of that.
No, don't shoot! Dance!
Bucky's so relentless, man.
I told you dance! Come on, man. Dance! Dance! Oh, it's jammed. You know what Karl Marx said about machines? They make men lazy. Stop! It's over. Surrender yourself. The Red Guardian never surrenders! Dance, oh, Winter Fox and Brandania!
Winter Fox. Oh, God. Well, we are in 2024, so I do expect to see this particular episode this year at some point.
Christmas of this year, next year. Of this year, sorry.
This year now, yeah. So maybe hopefully by Christmas, if they can get it all sorted. You know, give it one episode a day. I'm totally fine with that. Just come out with some better scenarios, please. You know, because I thought like T'Challa becoming Star-Lord was a great touch. I thought that was really clever. You know, we need more stuff like that. You know, what if Loki was worthy? Oh my God, that would be awesome. You know,
Well, yeah,
something
they
like
need to
that.
just be self-contained episodes, and yeah, as I said, in my opinion, and I don't care if you have the watcher narrate it, go for it. But yeah, no, they're really losing touch with what if is supposed to be.
What they also realized, you can tell by this episode, is that they're not really jumping on too much of what they've created post Endgame. They're still going back to their favorites, your Tony Starks and your Steve Rogerses and shit like that. People who have left our who have moved on to pastures new. I mean, I'm not saying they're dead, or I'm not saying Steve Rogers is dead, but he's retired now. But you know, they know that these motherfuckers is where the money's at, which is why they're not doing anything with Kamala Khan, for instance, or fucking Moon Knight or anything shit like that. You know, like they're still going back to these guys. You know, the
Well,
established people.
Yeah, and I also think that what if season 2 was supposed to come out a while ago, and it got delayed for some reason. I don't remember why.
Maybe the
But,
writers'
Right
strike,
strikes.
yeah.
but these episodes, those episodes of season 2 were written like right after season 1 was done. So I mean, that's why they weren't really deep in the Disney Plus era when they were writing these episodes. So maybe season 3 will have some of those, you know, Because I mean, now, they have Red Guardian, which is from the Black Widow movie, which is post Endgame. So hopefully, we'll
And then
have.
well, they had Wenwu, Shang-Chi, that was
Yeah,
post
and they had the
Endgame
Red
as well.
Room but I'm talking about like later
Yeah.
stuff like Kamala Khan, She-Hulk, stuff like that in in the in season 3. So let's hope that,
Yeah.
now that we're further deep into the MCU, past, we'll get more than just the early phase 4 stuff.
Yeah, but to get
Yeah.
more like what happens if like Kang beats Ant-Man or something.
What if Kamala Khan got the 10 rings? We could have another troll episode for Zam. She never gets the
It'll
10
be
rings.
great.
She just
I mean, if she also was in the final episode, and she was getting sucked into that vortex, and she threw her bracelets towards Captain Carter. Oh my god! You know what I mean? All that power. Oh my god! It would have been amazing. But all right. Enough about that. That's a what if in its own right. It's been really good fun talking to you guys about these episodes. I hope we try to get through it as quickly as we can, and we look forward to talking about some more stuff within the MCU as well as other fan beloved projects, whether it be DC, Star Trek, Star Wars, or anything else we can come up with. Maybe Dragon Ball Z or a bit of Final Fantasy. We're here to talk about it as well as some wrestling as well. You name it, we try to do it here at NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Thank you, Cousin Cheeto. Thank you, Gaz. And thank you to everyone else out there in YouTube and TikTok land. And don't forget to like and share and subscribe to us. Happy New Year to you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.